You have to understand what my job is. I put together fights that are compelling enough to make you stay home on a Saturday night and pay for it. When you stay home, get all your buddies together and you sit around and you buy my fight, you better be entertained.
At the end of the day, the UFC is a business above all things. Every fight isn't just a competition, it's a product, a storyline, and a revenue engine. So when a fight falls apart, there's no room for sentiment. The show must go on. And if there's one thing the UFC does better than anyone, it's delivering, even in the face of chaos. And they've done it again for UFC 310 on December 7th.
Shavkat Rakhmonov, that man gives me chills. He has a 100% finish rate.
18-0, 18 finishes. No one has survived this man.
I mean, this guy does everything well.
Ian Garry, this kid's the real deal.
The man who has been all the rage, Ian Garry. Confidence not an issue.
Division. I put fear into other people because of my striking.
In the co-main event of the last pay-per-view of the year, these two undefeated rising stars will battle to prove who reigns as the top prospect of the division and secure a shot at Belal Muhammad's welterweight crown.
They will only be able to say that I'm a f***ing gamer, that this guy will fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. And the perfect example is give me the boogeyman at the welterweight division and I'll stand in there in 3 weeks' notice and I'll find a way to beat him.
Shavkat said, I'm very disappointed in our division. Belal, Leon, Colby, Kamaru, Jack, Sean, you've all let the fans down. The only one who backed up his words is Ian, and I respect that, but make no mistake, Ian Garry, I'm coming for your O. We'll fight for the belt after.
Попробовать, пускай, как бы мой нулик хочет забрать, пускай попробует. У него шансов мало.
This card on December 7th has actually shaped up to be pretty stacked, with some world-class high-stakes matchups. But this fight is more than worthy of its own video. Someone's O has gotta go, and we'll finally see who's ready for their shot to lead the next generation. Let's take an inside look into this pivotal matchup that represents the future. Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Garry, going down at UFC 310.
I cannot wait. Let's go!
When news broke that Belal Muhammad was forced to withdraw from UFC 310 due to injury, I don't think many people saw Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Garry coming, especially after it was announced just days later that Garry would face Joaquin Buckley on December 14th. But the UFC worked their magic, and now we've got a banger matchup that raises lots of questions and excitement.
It seems like everybody's about the action till they're not about the action, and Ian Garry's actually about the action. I gotta admit, this is the fight I wanted.
I'm not gonna lie, this is over, so someone's always gotta go.
Shavkat Rakhmonov has been in the UFC for 4 years now, and has maintained his undefeated record while facing some top-tier competition. It's one thing to be undefeated, but it's another thing to be able to finish every single opponent you've ever faced, and names that are highly regarded in the promotion too.
He's the most under-the-radar guy ever. He's the most under-the-radar guy ever. Everybody's avoiding him, and he doesn't have a big name yet, but he should.
What Rakhmonov is doing is the most impressive story in sport right now. I've been around this sport since 1993. I have never heard of this. I know guys that finish fights, but there's chaos. And we don't see guys that are that methodical. It is shocking.
Shavkat is pretty much the definition of a silent killer. I mean, it's clear he's confident in his abilities, but he lets his performances do most of the talking.
Because of the language,
At UFC 310 has the complete opposite character. Since Ian Garry burst onto the scene in 2021, he's been brash, confident, and controversial, drawing comparisons to another famous Irishman in the UFC.
You went on a little rant saying that you're a fake Conor McGregor. I'm sure you've heard that one before.
Anyone saying that I am trying to be like Conor McGregor or I am trying to do something to be like Conor, I take something right.
The buzz around his name has skyrocketed over the past year, but he hasn't let it affect him.
I think you're a dumbass fucking kid who got some pussy that was too good for him and it got in his head and it fucked you up. I look at you like a victim.
Ian Garry's, you know, exciting, fun to watch. And,
did you see what he did? I don't know.
Oh yeah, the mugshot. I did see that.
That's Jeff Neal's mugshot, and Jeff Neal was pissed off.
Ian Garry, obviously people have been waiting to hear from you. How are you feeling with everything?
I'm going to get my hand raised Saturday night and I'm going to silence every single one of you.
Through the added attention, he stayed focused and continued his warpath against some high-caliber competition.
People can say what they want. At the end of the day, I'm living my life, get my hand raised and doing what's doing best. And I got most talented. I am so well-rounded, and the more and more I fight, the more and more fucked everyone else is. Because I'm just going to...
This fight always felt inevitable, like it was just a matter of time before they met. And now, that time has finally arrived. It's refreshing seeing two young, undefeated fighters face each other on their way to the top, which seems to be a rarity these days when both have hype surrounding them like this.
Fair play to Ian Garry. He's asked to switch up from Joaquin Buckley to take on Shavkat, who's 18-0, 18 finishes, and the man says, yes.
What a title eliminator, having these co-main events be 5 rounds, especially when it comes down to seeing who's going to be next for the title shot. I love this.
Ian Garry isn't just a good fight for Shavkat, but he's also the perfect personality to contrast the more reserved Kazakh, especially since Garry brings the noise the UFC needed to elevate this event on short notice.
Undefeated versus undefeated. We've trained together. We know how good we are. We both respect each other. He probably respects me a lot less than I respect him, which is okay. But the truth is, I will take his own. I will take that belt.
Even though Ian is the betting favorite in this fight, it seems like Shavkat has the edge in a lot of areas. He's more well-rounded and dangerous across multiple facets of the game, especially on the ground.
Ian Garry's outgunned and outskilled in most areas of that fight. After seeing some of his skills, he is just not up to par with Shavkat. He's gonna bring himself into a firefight with Shavkat, who could take him down at any moment, could submit him even in the stand-up.
But Ian is also a pretty complete fighter, who has exceptional movement, timing, and solid low kicks among other skills. Both fighters utilize their full range of tools with a high fight IQ, but we've seen that they're both pretty hittable. I think Shavkat has the power advantage and he's also proved to have the better chin, but Ian appears faster with very good distance control and counter strikes that could definitely give Shavkat issues. These are some of the best welterweight contenders in the world going at it with a ton on the line, reputations, records, and a shot at the ultimate prize next.
Shavkat Rakhmonov and Ian Garry saving the day at UFC 310. It is actually going to be competitive.
Ian Garry will be a test. He will come up with a game plan, a strategy, whatever you want to call it. 5 rounds, Shavkat always finds a way. More than likely, Shavkat's going to get a finish.
Garry is willing to take that risk because he knows, go big or go home. If I want to get a shot at that belt, it's right now. It's right now. It's one fight. I'm one fight away.
2024 has been a monumental year for the UFC. There's been countless title changes, unforgettable performances, and jaw-dropping moments. And we've seen the rise of the new wave of stars who are set to light it up in 2025. But before this year wraps up, UFC 310 on December 7th will showcase this pivotal matchup that represents the future, not only of the welterweight division, but of the UFC as a whole. And when the dust is settled, we'll have clarity on who's next in line to challenge Belal Muhammad for the coveted welterweight championship.